Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We are so delighted to welcome you this afternoon to our celebration of Dr. Christina Royal, Holyoke Community College's 4th president. Can you help me give her the first of what is probably many rounds of applause this afternoon? So again, my name is Amanda Sabrisha. I was hired by Dr. Royal in 2017 to serve as HCC's Vice President for Institutional Advancement and Executive Director of the HCC Foundation. I recall my first meeting with Christina in her office as part of my interview that October day. Not yet in her role for a full year, Dr. Royal's signature windowsill was already adorned with more than a dozen books on leadership, mindfulness, innovation, equity and inclusion, and the future of work and of higher education. The rotating display would become one of the many hallmarks of her presidency. My fellow vice presidents and I would look forward to seeing what had been swapped in or added during our meetings with Christina. Each one of those meetings beginning with the genuine question, how are you doing? Christina's desire to learn and improve, her questioning, deep listening, and care for others have been among her many gifts to Holyoke Community College and to each of us over the last 7 years. To me, she's been a mentor and a fierce champion for my goals. To her entire cabinet, an example of how to lead with vision, passion, and empathy. Today we come together to celebrate President Royal's leadership and what it has enabled us to accomplish as a community. We cannot possibly invite every person who has been impacted by Dr. Royal to the podium today, but we will do our best to highlight what she has meant to HCC and to us through a few very special guest speakers. So first, please join me in welcoming the Chair of the Board of Trustees for Holyoke Community College, Mr. Robert Gilbert.
What an audience. Hopefully everybody can hear us. But before I begin, all of this today, the balloons, the photo booth, the name tags, wouldn't be possible without the help of our Vice President Amanda Sabrisha and her team. So I'd just like to give a round of applause. Well, welcome. On behalf of the Board of Trustees and myself, Bob Gilbert, to President Royal's celebration of life here at Holyoke Community College. It's a testimony to her success, and you can see that by the audience that's here today. We have the mayor of the city of Holyoke, our senator, John Velis, our state rep, Pat Duffy, and a special guest, our commissioner of higher education, Noe Ortega, who was kind enough to change his busy schedule as the new commissioner and show up today, which we really appreciate, Noah. Presidents of colleges, we have Dr. Cook from Springfield Technical Community College and other college officials, faculty, staff, students, and friends of Dr. Royal. With that, I stand before you today and filled with mixed emotions as we prepare to bid farewell to one of our esteemed colleagues. Dr. Christina Royal, as I reflect on her 7 years as president of HCC, I was filled with a sense of gratitude and admiration. For many of us, she has been a mentor, a friend, and a role model. She has set a standard of excellence in her work and inspired us to do the same. She has been a source of guidance, wisdom, and always willing to share her knowledge and experience with others. Dr. Royal came to HCC as the 4th president of a college founded in 1946, and as Peg Wendlandt over here reminded me, it was Holyoke Junior College, not Holyoke Community College, the oldest two-year institution in the state. She succeeded 3 male presidents and became the first biracial female in the history of this college. The work ahead of her to change the culture of the college was to be immense. And change does not always come easy or readily accepted. We met often in the first year to discuss issues and to mentor me as the newly appointed chair of the Board of Trustees as to the dynamics of higher education. I was a product of the business sector and used to making decisions and seeing results in short order. No offense, Noe. That doesn't happen in higher education. Bob, she would say, I need to teach them to unlearn so they may learn new ideas and ways to accomplish our mission. As she embarked on the college's first ever strategic plan, she felt the mission statement was too long. How can anyone remember a 700-word statement? And so it became a short, concise, and memorable statement, the mission to educate, inspire, and connect. That wasn't readily accepted by the Board of Higher Education until a student rep on the board spoke up and said, I think that's great. It's easy to remember, and it means a lot in 3 short words. And that carried the day, and I always thank that student rep for his involvement. She has a great compassion for students and their success. Her work to provide a campus where the students could thrive is admirable. A Thrive Center, or Itsy Bitsy Child Watch Center, challenge of food insecurity with a store where there's a grab-and-go food, the strengthening of shared governance, and her commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion by suggesting we have a VP of EDI. That search will commence under the leadership of our new president, Dr. George Timmons. Her legacy will continue because of her work with donors. After recently receiving a $7.5 million donation from the Merit Foundation, it was quickly followed up with the largest community college donation in the Commonwealth of at least $10 million from Peg and Gary Winlet. Vega is a 58 graduate of Holyoke Junior College. We met them in Naples, Florida for a nice luncheon, and I just found out they moved back to their home in New York, and they're with us today in the second row. So I thank them very much for their attendance today. When Dr. Royal informed me she'd be retiring, she said, I will miss the people at the college and in the community, but at the same time, I'm excited about what the future could hold. My retirement marks the beginning of a new adventure, and I'm eager to explore new opportunities and to travel to new places. I'm looking forward to embracing the next chapter with enthusiasm and a sense of wonder. Her mind was made up. In closing, the Board of Trustees and I wish her great happiness, health, and many more years of fulfilling experiences. We thank you for everything you have done for this college and for us as individuals. We will miss you, but we know that you will always be part of our extended family. Thank you for listening this morning. It is now my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, our Commissioner of Higher Education, Noe Ortega. Noe started as our new commissioner in August of 22, having been Secretary of Education for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. He has been instrumental in advising us in our recent completed search for a new president, and as his first presidential appointment, I'm sure he found the process rewarding. I appreciate his help, and I'd like to introduce the Commissioner of Higher Education, Noe Ortega.
Thank you. I will correct the record because I want to make sure that I only get credited with the things that I've done. I started in November, so I've only been in the job 6 months. So I'm not responsible for anything that happened in August. I just want to make that clear. I think is an important distinction. But thank you for the invitation. President Royal, what a pleasure. It was it was a no-brainer to change my travel plans to say, yes, I'll be there when the chair reminded me the event was happening this week. And it's an absolute pleasure. You know, in the short time, sometimes you have interactions with individuals that you feel you've known your entire life. And that to me was the interaction I had with you when I came to visit the campus. It was very impressive as we walked around to sort of see the different contributions and the legacy that you leave behind just come to life. You know, as we see the student centers, the engagement, the way that the faculty was interacting on a number of things that were out there. And to me, that's an incredible thing to really be able to elevate as your contribution, which is incredibly important. When we come through, you know, I often have some time to sit back with the institutional leader to just reflect. Generally, there's a lot of asks that come from it, right? Sometimes even criticism, which is warranted. I think as the chair made the point, there's a lot of things that the state is responsible for that we can do better. But there's also moments of genuine sort of interaction. We talked about ways that our leadership inspires us. We talked about ways that our partners inspire us. And we talked about ways that our interactions with the world in our travels inspire us, right? And then we talked about things that are also difficult decisions that you make in leadership, right? And one of them is when it's time for you to take the next steps to begin to build. And I think to me, that's a very courageous act. And I want to just really, really commend you for how you did it, how you went about making sure that you understood that the next steps for you are important as you continue your development. We're only as good as leaders in our ability to really fulfill what it is that moves us and commits us to what I often say is a commitment to the profession, where you truly do profess to change the lives of individuals that you lead, not just students, but communities. And that's a tremendous thing that we have as an opportunity as leaders, and that's a thing that you've done here. Incredible. I think those 3 words that you put out speak volumes when people encounter them in the mission statement and feel that they know exactly what they're going to come here and get. They know exactly what they're going to leave with. And it sort of makes it easier to say that you don't need long rhetoric to make sure that you find a way to convey what you're trying to do, what the goal is. Sometimes you just need to be short, concise, right? And in that, you begin to convey both the meanings and the importance of the things that we do. So on behalf of the state, on behalf of the Department of Higher Education, I want to really wish you well on your next step. And thank you for everything that you've done, not just for this institution, but the contributions you have made through your leadership, input, and feedback to the things that we have in the state as objectives as well. So really, really grateful. I look forward to continue to work with the institution that continues to develop and evolve, right? Mr. Chair, it was a pleasure joining you and the committee in doing that work. And I hope we can continue to interact in the future as well. So thank you very much. An absolute pleasure to be here, and thanks for everyone who made the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ortega, for being with us today and for all you do that shines a light on the important work of community colleges across the Commonwealth. Now I'm pleased to introduce a trio of leaders whose passion for HCC and advocacy for our mission is relevant in all that they do. President Royal, would you please join Senator John Velis, Representative Pat Duffy, and representing the Mayor of Holyoke, Josh Garcia, Aaron Vega, on the stage.
All right, what an honor it is to be up here with these 2 gentlemen and with the president. So being the state rep representing Holyoke on Beacon Hill, one of my biggest sources of joy is representing this college, and it's been an incredible learning experience in our monthly meetings to meet with President Royal and not only talk about life, but also talk about higher education and this community outreach, and to hear her really exciting ideas for innovative programs that she wants to work on, and strategizing, sorry, startled by the sound of my own voice, and strategizing with her how I can best support her. So I do have a proclamation from the House of Representatives. I'm not going to read the whole thing, it's all the language you all have heard, but it's in recognition of your remarkable tenure as president of Holyoke Community College. And I'll say for myself, I'm so excited to see what your next step is. And I feel that you and I will be talking about community colleges and higher education and life in general. So here we go.
So just when you didn't think you had to hear from Mayor in Vega anymore. I'm honored to represent the mayor. He and I have a Batman and Robin relationship. Often he thinks he's Batman, so I let that slide. The mayor wanted to pass on a lot of what Chair Gilbert had brought up. What President Royal did and was able to do with this institution was address those issues and gaps and struggles and obstacles that students have in achieving higher education. You heard the list, from addressing food insecurity, transportation, housing, all those kind of issues were the things that President Royal was engaged in. And for us, I think the reason why, it's in the name, community. She's passionate about the community that she works and lives in, and that's been a huge asset for us. From my perspective, real quick, two things I would say. You heard a theme going on here. We had a standing monthly meeting when I was state rep for 8 years. So her tenure, I was the state rep. We'd meet for about 45 minutes. We'd talk about everything else. Meditation, travel, theater, music, our kids, our families, life, partners, everything else. And then we'd be like, oh, right, when we're supposed to talk about some bills that I've got working on the legislature? When we're supposed to talk about the budget? So we try to jam that in the last minutes. But that's the kind of passion that she brings to all these relationships. And all of you had that relationship with her. She went beyond just being the president. I think the last thing I'll say, I'll miss those talks for sure, but I'm lucky that I'm serving on a board with her, so I'll get to have a few more of those talks over the next couple of months. All of us are very sad to see her leave, but we're also very encouraged, because I got a call at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday when I was on vacation. It was right after she had gone to Bali, right? It was post-pandemic, kind of. And you know when you get that call, you just know what it's going to be? And I picked up and says, hello, Madam President, do you have some news? And she was announcing that she was going to be retiring. She obviously gave us a long window, almost a year. But that kind of impact for us to really, really, truly feel sad that someone's moving on is how I think a lot of us felt. We're encouraged, we're happy, we're blessed to have worked with you, and we look forward to your future endeavors. Representing the mayor, here's your citation. I won't read it. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just a little FYI, when former Representative Vega says, real quick, just get comfortable, okay? It's going to be a little while. But I have to give credit where it's deserved. My good friend, all three of my good friends up here, but it was former Rep Vega. When I was back in probably the latter part of 2019, or maybe even the beginning of 2020, when I at the time was contemplating, we'll say, running for the Senate. Rep. Aaron Vega said to me, you have to go meet President Royal. So I did, and we had a meeting, and I don't know what we talked about. I don't recall what we talked about, but I recall leaving there and saying, that's an all-star. You remember, what my mom would always say to me growing up, like those first impressions. That first impression stuck with me as someone who's passionate, compassionate, empathetic, and cares. My main takeaway when I was thinking about what to say this morning, when I had the opportunity to say a few words, my main takeaway is that President Royal realizes, if not more than everybody, she realizes that what determines what happens in the four walls of a school, an institution, or anything, in many respects, is based on things that happen outside. of here. And what I mean by that is that some of the biggest issues that we've worked on successfully, all of us, collaboratively, food insecurity, one of our first meetings. How can we expect students to learn if they're hungry? The Itsy Bitsy Child Watch. There are a lot of students who aren't going to school because they don't have a place for their kids to be during the day. Things on the outside that impact what happens here. Empathy, compassion, decency gets that education, where we are today during this time period, can't be looked at and perceived through separate silos. Integrated education, caring about the whole of the person and the student is my takeaway about President Royal. And I don't care what she says. I know she's got some vacation plans and all that going on, and rightfully so, deservedly so. But I know with absolute certainty that this isn't the end of this story. This is like a comma or a semicolon or whatever those things we learned in grammar that I didn't really, one of those things. But this book isn't closing yet. And let's all hope that this book isn't closing yet. Because in the very short time, very COVID time, that I had the honor and privilege of being the state senator representing this great institution, I know that we collectively are losing a great educator, but most importantly, we are losing a great person. So HCC's, and I say this with a little bit of trepidation, HCC's loss in this instance is whatever your next chapter's is gain. But I know that this institution, because of the bedrock principles that you have laid down and that mantra of caring about the whole of the students, will prevail and will continue. Thank you. It's been an absolute... So I have the pleasure of presenting, I am the senator, but I am also the governor as well, and the lieutenant governor as well. So you have a, congratulations.
Dr. Royal's legacy will clearly live on through a seemingly endless list of initiatives, programs, and firsts. But perhaps the most meaningful was the establishment of the President's Student Emergency Fund, launched upon her inauguration in 2017. No student should have to choose between a car repair and registering for their class, Dr. Royal would often say. Now somewhat standard practice among community colleges and four-year institutions alike, HCC's Student Emergency Fund set the standard in 2017. Since its inception, and thanks to the generosity of hundreds of donors, more than $500,000 has been raised to respond to students facing unforeseen financial challenges. To date, more than 500 students have received the immediate support they needed to remain on the path to achieving a college degree. Students have always been at the heart of Dr. Royal's work, and so to share from their perspective are two of HCC's inspiring students, Barney Garcia and Rachel Reynolds.
Good afternoon. My name is Barney Garcia, and I am a student here at HCC. I'm very honored to be here today to share a few words about Dr. Royal. I think for many of us in this room, it can go without saying that she has touched each and every one of our lives. Whether it be through her compassion, her determined persona, or just by the smile on her face. To me, I believe that she stands as what it means to be a leader. Being an advocate, listening to others, and always having the desire to make a positive impact. As a member of our college's Student Senate and soon-to-be student trustee, I can't tell you enough how important these qualities are to the kind of work that we do. What I can tell you is how she supported us, each and every one of us, from the very beginning, emboldening our members to be their best selves, listening to what we had to say, and always encouraging us to keep working hard for what we believed in. While it is with a heavy heart to say goodbye to Dr. Royal, I can only be grateful for our shared experiences together and be thankful for her many contributions to the college. Thank you.
I'm short, I'm sorry. While I haven't known President Royal for too long, the times I have met her have been ones that I'm thankful for. President Royal has been welcome on all fronts, allowing me to ask questions and seek advice that will not only benefit my success here at HCC, but that will benefit me beyond HCC and in my future. I've spent a few events with President Royal now, sitting at dinner tables and all that fun jazz, and all of which have been pleasurable. Her willingness to talk to me and other students like me shows her dedication to HCC and shows her compassion for the students here at HCC. I want to say thank you for your time, President Royal, and I want to say I hope you have a successful retirement. Success is something that President Royal possesses and pushes the students to have at HCC within their own lives as well. I wish you a wonderful retirement filled with plenty of rest, adventures, and so much more. Your impact on HCC will stand the test of time, and I know that your impact on me will remain as well. I hope that years down the road you will cherish the years you've spent here at HCC. And now I would like to welcome to the stage the HCC faculty and staff, Jaleesa Colon, Jay Maurice, sorry, I'm not good at names, Renee Tristad, Irma Medina, and Pat Sandora.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jaleesa Colon, and I'm the director of El Centro. I want to start by honoring your commitment to collaboration, President Royal. During your tenure, this institution has grown in its capacity to listen to each other, to value each other's work in the many different ways that we do it, and a commitment to working together to the greater shared vision that we all have under your leadership. I'm also grateful for your community collaboration support, in particular your support of the Hispanic Leadership Committee and our work with faculty, staff, and students in ways that are culturally responsive and that under your leadership have allowed us to grow in connection and collaboration throughout the full institution. Thank you for your support.
Christina, over the course of your tenure here at HCC, I've developed an appreciation for your task-driven leadership, pushing initiatives forward quickly toward our various strategic goals, but also the way you put people at the center of your leadership. Whether that was making yourself accessible to employees and students through holding office hours and then establishing town halls so you could hear from the HCC community directly, attending college events to socialize with your colleagues, recently hosting pickleball socials to create community, and now the legacy project you've initiated around the people who've come before us to make HCC what it is today. That's where trust develops, when we put people at the center of the institution, the students, the employees, the alumni, and the community. We build that trust that creates a more effective and stronger organization to move everyone forward. I'm hoping the initiatives we've worked on together over the past couple of years on internal governance at the college continue to build trust within the institution and amongst the people who are HCC. Christina, thank you for trusting in my leadership. It probably wasn't easy after that shared governance meeting in late spring of 2021. I wish you health, peace, and the very best in the next phase of your life. Congratulations.
All
So the value that I am to speak on is innovation. I'm going to do so with a twist, and that is to highlight how President Royal, through her time at HCC, has really advanced equity through innovation. Through innovation, Christina has laid the foundation for supporting students' basic needs, establishing the President's Student Emergency Fund, opening the Homestead Market, the first campus store in Massachusetts to accept SNAP benefits, and yes, that's worth an applause for sure, and partnering with the Holyoke Housing Authority, Westfield State University, and now AIC on low-cost housing for our students, launching the Itsy Bitsy Child Watch program to provide HCC students with access to free drop-in childcare for their children, and in addition, Christina opened the HCC MGM Culinary Arts Institute on Race Street, reopened this building after 2 years and $43.5 million in renovations, strengthened our ability to celebrate the next 75 years of HCC's history, and for the first time in HCC's history, raised the trans flag and the pride flag on campus in recognition of the importance of community within our community. Thank
you. Buenos dias. My name is Irma, and I have been here through 2 presidents, an interim, and a partridge in a pear tree. So, what I have valued the most, President Royal's time with us here, is her inclusionary leadership style. President Royal's time, and again, brought this community together for tough conversations, whether it be the town hall meetings, the strategic planning process, and especially throughout the pandemic, for guiding purpose to stress the importance of community. What I will take away from your time with us, President Royal, is to ensure we continue to provide opportunities and make spaces, take spaces for involvement, empowerment, regardless of positionality. When people are included, their worth is recognized and respected. More importantly, the idea of a better place and a better community can be achieved together. This is especially important with the ongoing work of our Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Council. We will continue to work towards belonging and respecting the many cultures, traditions, beliefs, languages, abilities, and identities on this campus together. Y pa'lante. Gracias.
What I would like to speak about is Christina's personal commitment to HCC. She wasn't here a week before she was walking down the hallway, and we had a conversation. I was so impressed because she was interested in me. She wanted to know what my goals were, what was I working on, and how could she support me. Are you kidding me? It was wonderful. Another example of her commitment was her willingness to be part of our 24-hour play. Christina, if it's not a 24-hour play exactly. Students write the play on one night, the actors come in the next day, and they rehearse all day, they perform that night. Christina agreed to be a part of it. So she came in at 8, like all the students and the alumni, and worked all day working with them. They were delighted to have Christina be a part of this. She had lunch with them, she had dinner with them, and she said she saw rooms underneath the stage and places around it that she never knew existed. As we gather here today, and I'll let you know, I promised I was not going to whine, but as we gather here today to celebrate Dr. Royal and acknowledge her service, I have a quote that I think says it all. To give real service, you must add something that cannot be measured or bought with money, and that is sincerity and integrity. For your service, I thank you. But I think we all would like to thank her as well, So on the count of 3, can we all give a collective thank you? 1, 2, 3. So now let's continue. Please join me in welcoming friend and super board member, former trustee, founder, director, and alumni council member, oops. I did that wrong. But I'll admit it, okay. Okay, we are pleased to welcome, she's still a former friend and former president of the Community Foundation of Western Massachusetts, to the stage, Katie Ellen Sobel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Whoa. How's this?
I misjudged you.
Is it-
You look taller.
I look taller than I am, right? Yeah. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here and a privilege to be here to salute you, Christina. Thanks to everyone who's spoken. You've taken all the, I'll just end here because you've said it all. But I'm here to represent the community. And I just, you can see how grateful we are, how admiring we are and appreciative, and how sad we are. And this is, let's face it, this is a bittersweet moment. It is very hard to have someone so capable, so caring, so charismatic and bold and visionary decide to leave. So it is sad, and even though we are so deeply grateful, there is a mix of grief in all of this for us. But we're here to celebrate, as the balloons say, and the music when we came in. We're all here to celebrate you, Christina, to thank you for your service. I'm also here to remind all of us and myself that Christina has provided an exceptional model, an example for how we can move forward to create greater equity, partnerships, collaboration, and that each one of us has a role in carrying that forward. Irma, you just said it, so thank you, that we are all carrying that legacy forward. And that's my reminder to myself and to all of us. But when I asked the community leaders, I wanted to bring other voices into this, community members, business leaders and government officials. I asked some neighbors, I asked a few folks who've worked with you, some other college presidents. I asked, I think, close to 20-ish people, and every single one of them responded with different words to describe Christina. Does that surprise you? No. The spectrum and depth and diversity of her skills and expertise and experience are wide, as you've heard already. But what I heard was deeply committed to the whole student, dynamic and caring, brave and fierce leadership. I also heard from a foundation president in the Boston area who's worked with Christina, who said that she saw her leadership as inspirational and joyful. A college professor shared with me that she felt her leadership was transformational. I heard from a nonprofit leader who said she brought curiosity and generosity to her leadership. Someone else said to me, Christina is a positive disruptor. She makes good trouble, just like Congressman John Lewis extolled us all to do. And then someone else asked me if I could just say she's badass at the platform. I said, sure. I just did. Christina, over the last 7 years, I've had countless opportunities to observe you in action. So here's what I learned from you. Don't fear change. Don't resist it. Cultivate it and plan for it. Be intentional. Be inclusive. Say yes. Trust your instincts. Trust the universe. Speak up. Be insistent and persistent. Be curious and always be kind. These observations gave me a chance to develop a little trick that I want to share with all of you. When faced with difficult decisions myself, or maybe conflict or uncertainty, I'd ask myself, WWCD, what would Christina do? Seriously, I mean, this is true. And when faced with a challenge, I thought about what would Christina do? Well, she would speak up, she would be curious, she would ask a lot of questions, she would get all of the voices at the table and invite them to the table. She would listen and be thoughtful and intentional, and then she would have a plan. And she would activate that plan. And all through it, she would be kind. So in reality, though, the what would Christina do piece, it's really, if you ask Christina, what would you do? She would turn the tables and tell you to follow your own instincts, be yourself, use your own voice, be true to who you are, and insistent about it. So after 7 years of your exceptional leadership, Christina, the question now, my little trick is, what is my role in carrying forward, what is each of our roles in carrying forward the work you started here in just this short time? You heard all of the things, I mean, so the list could go on and on. I remember that 24-hour play, by the way. And I just think that's what we have to be thinking about right now, is what can we each do to ensure that this work continues, that it persists. Because you have made a huge difference to the community. HCC's community, this institution, is better, stronger, more inclusive, more modern, more collaborative. And the community itself, beyond these walls, as someone said, what you said, Senator Velis, about being what happens outside, you understood that and you made this community a better place with your service. So I'm thankful to you, and I'm so grateful that you've shined your light these past 7 years for all of us to see the way forward, and we'll continue to carry your legacy. Thank you so much. Now, please join me in welcoming, as we said, friend, superstar, super board member, former trustee, foundation director, and alumni council member, Lucy Perez, to the stage.
Hey, Lucy.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to see so many of you here today to honor and celebrate Christina on her retirement. I can't believe I'm saying that. It seems like she was here just yesterday. It hasn't been long enough. And again, although she hasn't been at HCC, or she has been at HCC for a relatively short amount of time, she, along with the support of the students, the staff, faculty, and community leaders, led the college through major infrastructure projects that you've heard about, a grueling pandemic that no one's mentioned, which posed many challenges and opportunities, and opportunities for new initiatives. As a former student and employee of the college, I am most proud of several of the initiatives Christina led, which you've heard reference, to address students' basic needs and to foster diversity, equity, and inclusion practices on campus. Amen. Under her leadership, the college recognized that getting a quality education was impossible if students' basic needs were not met. Food security, access to affordable childcare, financial aid, housing, and mental health services had to be a priority for the college. Christina's commitment to ensuring that students see themselves represented across all levels of the college, and that they know on a visceral level that this is their community college, that they not only belong to, but can be assured that the college is as invested in them as they are in themselves. Very, very important. To tackle some of these obstacles, and you've heard some of them referenced, the college opened the Homestead Market, and as my friend mentioned, she got the approval to accept SNAP benefits. No other college in the Commonwealth or anywhere else that I know of has achieved that. The President's Emergency Fund, which you've also heard, was established to help students in emergency situations. And as Amanda said, we've given out tons of dollars to needy students, and I am so proud to be one of those donors that contributed. Under Christina's leadership and her relationship building, the college managed to increase the number of scholarships available to students who want to come to HCC. And I can tell you as a former student, those dollars weren't always sufficient. New partnerships were forged with mental health agency, community organizations, all across the Commonwealth to address student needs. A diversity, equity, and inclusion leadership position was created to spearhead some of these initiatives and to continue doing great work here at the college. Christina had a resolute commitment to ensuring that the number of faculty and staff of color and underrepresented groups, were coming to HCC. Ensuring that diversity, equity, and inclusion are not just popular buzzwords, but serve instead as pillars that also included the revision of the mission of the college, policies, practices, and the curriculum of the college to support the diversity of students we serve. Demonstrating for all to see that these are not mere gestures that we symbolically promote, but rather ideals which we commit ourselves to advancing here at the college and within our communities. For these and many other reasons, I will be forever grateful to Christina and HCC. Her leadership made all of these things possible. And I know many of you are saying that she's leaving us. She's not leaving us. Trust me, she's not leaving us. She's gonna be able to help the college in many ways, and she's gonna serve on every board you can imagine. In the community, she's gonna be a champion for the college. And when I think of some of the things, some of the challenges and some of the great things that Christina brought to this wonderful institution, I'm reminded of Maya Angelou, because it wasn't always easy. And Maya Angelou would say, you may not control all events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. And hooray for Christina. She was unwavering. And she pushed the envelope in support of our students, DEI initiatives and practices here at HCC. This is why I can truly say she's a phenomenal woman. I know she will continue to do great things on her life's journey, and Karen by her side. And I know that she's gonna be part of the college. She has a special place here at HCC, and we welcome her with open arms always. And I can just see her on the golf course in September to raise funds for the foundation, sort of directing everything, which is, she and Amanda, they're a tag team. They're amazing. But anyway, it gives me such a great pleasure to welcome Christina to the podium as we are almost down to the wire. And I love Christina. I'm so grateful to her for all that she's done for the college. And she's definitely my shero. And fan mentor, that's all I can think about. She's amazing. So come on up, Christina.
Wow. It is, I'm just so touched by all of the remarks that all of you have shared today. I'm just truly speechless for them, but I'm just deeply grateful for the meaning behind them and how heartfelt they were. It is truly such a privilege that so many of you came out today to celebrate with me this afternoon. There are so many people to thank and so many stories to recount, but there are three foundational pillars that have guided my life and leadership that I wanted to briefly talk about, including having a growth mindset, recognizing that representation matters, and focusing on unlearning. So I'd like to share just a few stories of significant moments in my life and presidency. The first is about growth mindset. When I was a little girl, I found a magic set at the Salvation Army, which is where we frequently shopped. It was a used set, but it had all of the pieces: a deck of cards, ribbons to pull out of sleeves and hats, and most importantly, a magic wand. I love magic, and I learned all of the tricks and proceeded to have magic shows in the neighborhood with my friends, and it was exciting. They were enamored by me being able to guess the card that they pulled out from a deck, or to be able to decipher which shell the penny was under. And while my time using magic was all child's play, I felt that there was a very powerful lesson in learning magic. It was an understanding and belief that the mind was so powerful it could make you believe or not believe anything, including about yourself. To some degree, the future is an illusion that's shaped by our thoughts and our beliefs about what may happen in the future. Helping students to embody a growth mindset and realize the potential that's within them is what HCC does best. A term that came up in our strategic planning process was relentless encouragement. That's what we provide to students: relentless encouragement and the support for them to succeed. We have so many students, including first-generation students with parents who have never attended college and others, who may not yet have been told or shown how to utilize their own potentials and gifts. That magical deck of cards opened up my mind to the world of endless possibilities, and our faculty and our staff do the same for our students. I am amazed by our students and what they're capable of, and also what they believe for themselves. They are indeed our future, and they are going to change our communities, their families, and the world. I want to also talk a little bit about representation and why it's so important. Shortly after becoming president, the college held an event for celebrating Women's International Day, and they asked me to speak at that event. That was one of my first events. I shared stories from my own life to help students, faculty, and staff get to know me as a person and who I was as a leader. I spoke about being born as a biracial person in 1972, the same year Title IX was enacted, but also only 5 years after laws changed in the United States to allow a black man to marry a white woman. I am the product of this change. If you've never seen Loving versus Loving, a movie that highlights this period of racial change, I really encourage you to do so. After my remarks at the Women's International Day, several people came up to me to say things like, "Thank you for being our first female president. Thank you for being open about your identity as a queer person. Thank you for sharing your experiences about being a light-skinned person of color from others who could also identify, such as some Latinas, Native Americans, two-spirited individuals." And what I really learned in that moment was representation matters. You never know who is watching. I remember what it was like growing up without role models. Sometimes it's hard to dream it if you can't see it. And the best I could hope for was for me serving in this role would inspire others to break glass ceilings where progress has yet to be achieved. And speaking of progress, when I was a final candidate for the presidency for HCC, all of the finalists were female. Every single one of them. This was groundbreaking for a college that had previously had only 3 male presidents. And fast forward to today, and the finalist pool for my replacement was an all BIPOC group of finalists. Every single one of them is a person of color. Yeah. I'm so grateful for the work that we've done together at this college to create the conditions for this to be possible. And it's the best testament to our equity work. And I'm excited that Dr. George Timmons, with all of his amazing gifts, will also become the first African American president at HCC. I've had a few meetings with him thus far, and I believe his ability to connect with students through his own lived experiences will become apparent to everyone who works for him. And it gives me a lot of encouragement about the future of HCC. Our success as an institution has not been in our growth, but it's been in our ability to unlearn outdated practices and assumptions that limit our ability to see the exponential possibilities before us. This is our differentiator, and it's what I believe makes us a great institution. One of my first presentations to the college community was on the topic of unlearning. And the faculty, staff, and students, through an activity that we did after, brainstormed some amazing ways that we needed to unlearn our current way of doing business to ascend to the next level. From old assumptions about what our students need and want, to the outdated concept that we're a 2-year college when 65% of our students are part-time. We started to reimagine possibilities by strengthening academic programs, expanding initiatives, to support our students of color, to rebuild our workforce programs, to create better pathways into credit, certificate, and degree programs, and to double down on student basic needs. The pandemic helped us to unleash the power of taking risks and trying new approaches, because it upended all of us. And it served as a catalyst for unlearning and preparing for an ever-changing world of reimagined possibilities. It is challenging for any human to change the way they do things. Think about how difficult it is to change our daily routine or daily tasks. Just think about that for a moment. We're creatures of habit. We like routine. So, for example, when the Mass Department of Transportation changed all the exit numbers on I-91 and the Mass Pike, it took me a long time to remember the correct exit to get to work, or to tell people like who were visiting our house what exit to get off of, because I had that old number in my head. Or when my assistant restructured our digital file folder, and my first instinct was to look for the old file name, and instead I couldn't figure out how to access our files. You can see then just how these small differences translate to how difficult it is to make institutional change. I also think about when new software upgrades change the interface and you can't quite figure out where the copy-paste button is anymore. But our ability to retool the curriculum and revise processes for greater efficiencies, these adaptations are the cornerstone to our ability to let go of what no longer serves us and transform. And this reflects another strength of HCC, a way that we collectively leverage the pandemic for positive change. The success of any leader is reflective of the quality of the team surrounding them. All of my successes, and I mean all, are of this college, but there is not a single initiative that I undertook that I accomplished on my own. Our investments in equity, affordability, access, and academic rigor make HCC a first choice rather than a last stop. And I know you believe that too. We are fortunate to have a community that believes the work that we are doing and other community colleges are doing, and the important role that we play in workforce development and economic development. HCC is a first choice because of all of you. So let me share a few notes of gratitude. I want to start by thanking the Board of Trustees under the leadership of our chairman, Bob Gilbert, for your dedication and belief in our college and students. Bob, you have supported me and challenged me from day one, but most importantly, you believed in my vision for the institution. Thank you for that. I want to thank our faculty and staff whose commitment to our mission, vision, and values inside and outside of the classroom are evident every day and reflect the heart of what we do, and also highlight the importance that we've placed on transfer, that we want students to start here and finish elsewhere. So thank you so much for the work that you do. Students, in particular our Student Senate and our student trustees who, through the years, I've had a chance to work with 7 of them. You are why we are here. Your willingness and your desire to co-create your own educational experience is inspiring, and what gives me the greatest hope for our future. We are cultivating the next generation of leaders right now, right here. I also want to thank our community. Our reputation is a reflection of your belief in HCC and your willingness to partner alongside of us. And so many of you are also alumni who have gone on to assume leadership roles in our region, which is another powerful testament to HCC. And you continue to come and you give back to the college in so many different ways. I also want to thank our elected officials. It's not always easy leading a college on the other side of what's seen as the nerve center of the state. But our elected officials ensure that HCC remains relevant, critical, and at the forefront of conversations at the state level. Community colleges educate half of all public higher education students in Massachusetts, and Western Mass plays an important role in that. My presidential colleagues and our MAC office, both 2- and 4-year presidents who have collectively a lot of insight and from whom I've learned so much, have an attitude of collaboration and partnership that allows us to lift up higher education in our region and across the state. And our alumni, every one of whom has had their lives changed in some way by attending HCC. They come back and they give their time. They give back with financial support, and they epitomize HCC's amazing legacy of academic excellence and student support. You give us strong roots, and you help us thrive with decades to come. Our donors, many of whom are HCC alum, as well as those who also recognize the power of education to transform lives and positively change the trajectory of a student's future. And they want to pay it forward. I'm especially grateful that in the audience today we have Peg and Gary Wentlet, whose recent $10 million estate gift will impact students on a level rarely seen among community colleges. This is trailblazing at its best. Peg once told me that in 1958, Holyoke Junior College felt like family to her. And thanks to our donors, it continues to feel like family for so many of our students. I'm deeply grateful not only for your gift, but for your friendship. They have supported the vision we've enacted for the college, and students are right at the center of it. In truth, there are so many champions for HCC who have supported me, who have advocated for our collective work to ensure student success, and whose own leadership has been an inspiration to me. There are just too many people to thank individually, but please know you're all part of my journey. And finally, I want to thank my fiancée, Karen, for her love and support. She is the amazing woman supporting me as I hold space for the college and the community. And she believes in my gifts and understands the work that I'm here to do in this lifetime and helps me see the world from a whole new perspective. And I can't wait to have more time with you. And now I'm embarking on some more firsts in my life, including getting married to my beautiful partner and leaving the college presidency a job I love. In many respects, this feels like a first, since it's not the norm for someone to leave the presidency without another job. But I'm not leaving the presidency for another job. I'm leaving because I feel called to something greater. My purpose in being president in this moment at the college's history is significant, and my work is done. And instead of rushing into something else, I'm doing what every leader should do when they feel unsure about what's next, which is to pause. So I'm embarking on a self-imposed sabbatical to figure out what I meant to do in the world next. In the process, I feel like I'm also giving people permission to settle into the unknown. While I'm stepping into the unknown personally, there's a lot known about the future of HCC. We have a strategic plan that charts our path and prioritizes equity and student success. We have a committed board of trustees that is in alignment with the college. We have exceptional faculty and staff who every day demonstrate their belief in our students and utilize their expertise to improve their academic programs and staff initiatives. We have a community that is invested in our success. And students, we have students who inspire us every day with their ideas, dreams for the future, and help us to design the student experience they want to have. In the story of the college's impressive history, my leadership is just one piece of a long and impressive timeline. You all will continue that legacy going forward, grounded in our mission to educate, inspire, and connect. Thank you for the honor and privilege of being your fourth president. It truly has been an experience of a lifetime.